Alright, so a couple more examples. Identify all angles that are coterminal with each angle, then find one positive and one negative angle that are coterminal with each angle. The most important thing for us to understand for this is that a coterminal angle will just be an angle with 360 degrees added to it. To encompass every single possibility here, technically you'd have to multiply 360 infinitely, like you just have to do this forever and ever. What mathematicians have done is they've just decided to say all the angles that are coterminal to 300, or any angle for that matter, is going to be 300 degrees plus multiples of 360. So what they'll do is they'll say down 360 and then they'll say times k. So this is the answer, 300 degrees plus 360 degrees times k, where k represents every single integer. Now the second part to this question is to write down a positive and a negative version of this. That's very simple. All you have to do is multiply this by k being a positive amount, 1, 2, 5 million, whatever you want it to be. I'm going to just multiply k, I'm going to make k 1. So 1 times 360 is 360, and 360 plus 300 is 660. So my positive version is 660. What this tells me is that 300 and 660 are coterminal angles. And then to do the negative version, I just make k a negative amount. So negative 1. Now remember, k has to represent an integer. So negative 360, which would give us negative 360 and 300, which is negative 60 degrees. Okay. Let's try that with the negative 75 degrees. So once again, we do the same exact thing. We're going to say all coterminal angles will be negative 75 degrees plus 360 degrees times k. And then we have to do a positive version. So I'll multiply k. I'll make k, sorry, not multiply, but I'll make k positive 1. 360 plus 75 comes out to 285. So my positive amount is going to be 285 degrees. And then my negative amount, I'm going to multiply k by 360, or sorry, once again, k is going to be negative 1, so I'll multiply 360 by negative 1, and then add that to negative 75, and the negative amount will be negative 435 degrees. Now, the next question is a little more complicated and takes a little bit more math or understanding. The most important thing to understand is what is a rotation. So a single rotation is always 360 degrees. So what we're going to do on these problems here is understand or try to figure out how many rotations it takes to make the angle. So in question A, how many rotations does it take to get 1,459? The way we do this is we just do basic division. So we're going to divide 1,459 by 360. And what this will tell us is how many rotations it takes to get 1,459. And when we divide 1,459 by 360, we get 4.052, and that really doesn't matter after that amount. What you need to understand here is that it's essentially 4 rotations. So 4 rotations is like adding 4 360s, like up here, which means the coterminal angle is just getting rid of all those extra 360s. So we need to make sure that we get an angle between 0 and 360. So I'm going to subtract the 4 rotations from this right here. So 4 rotations times 360, so we have to calculate that. So 4 times 360, and we get 1440. So I'm going to subtract the 4 rotations, and 4 rotations is 1440. And when I subtract 1440, I get 19. This tells me that 1459 is coterminal with 19 degrees. 19 degrees is between 0 and 360, so I've decided or figured out the correct amount. And let's do the same thing with this angle here. So I need to take 2483 and divide it by 360. And when I divide it by 360, we get 2483 divided by 360. We get 6.89, and once again, we don't care about everything else after that. That's all the decimal, so all we care about is the negative 6. So that means there's negative 6 rotations. So we multiply negative 6 times 360, and we get 2160. So this right here, we're going to add 2160. Now we're trying to add because we need to get this thing to go up into 0 to 360. Now you'll notice that's actually going to give us still a negative. So let me explain that in a second after I do a little bit more math. 2483. This gives us negative 323. So to get the positive coterminal angle, we need to add one more rotation. One trick you could do is that when it's negative, just add the negative amount plus one more amount. So if it was negative 6, then we should do times 7 and then add 7 rotations to this thing, and that'll give us between 0 and 360. For this one here, we want to go down to 4. It's kind of like the greatest integer function, but backwards. So we're going to add one more rotation to get us in the positive, and this will give us an angle of 37 degrees. So this angle right here, 2483, negative 2483, is the same as 37 degrees, or is coterminal with 37 degrees. And 1459 is coterminal with 19 degrees.